Hello friends, welcome back to December's Bookmas videos. Very excited to be sharing all these books with you. I will just let you know that my sister is watching TV out there, and so you may hear it. So I'm gonna try to talk louder and just keep it going here because I need to film these videos. I am very excited to share this video with you because this is kind of a way for you to learn more of my book taste, because I am going to be sharing about the most disappointing and worst books that I read in 2024. But huge disclaimer, I'm not here to bash these books. I don't want to bash anyone who likes these books. This is just my opinion. I'm going to try to explain why I didn't like these books. And sometimes it's just like they're not for me. Other times it's like for a content reason or whatever. But I do still think that it's interesting just to learn what someone's taste is by talking about books that they don't like as well. But I'm going to try to do it in a really classy way. And I'm doing this one to get it done, and then we'll talk about all of the favorites after this video. But for now, I did want to share all of my most disappointing reads. Some of them aren't surprising, but some of them are surprising. So I don't have most of them to hold up because I read most of them from the library, or I just don't own them anymore, but I do have two that I can hold up maybe near the end. But here we go. Okay, so some of these have also been in videos. So if I have a video or a reading vlog where these books were in them, I'm going to link it down below. So if you want to see more kind of, I guess, more recent thoughts, then you can watch those vlogs. But I am first going to talk about some thrillers, actually. So the first one is Drowning by TJ Newman. This was surprising for me. I really thought that I was going to like this book because this is the kind of thriller that I would like, because it's kind of just like a survival story, and I like survival stories. But this one is about a plane that crashes in the ocean and starts sinking, and you're following all of the people that are in the plane trying to survive. But the two main reasons I didn't like this book, number one is the language was a lot. There was a lot of F-bombs, and just usually it depends on the tone of the book if I can handle the language. I just recently talked about As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson, and that whole trilogy has a lot of F words in it, but I still enjoyed it, and that didn't really hinder my enjoyment, whereas the language in Drowning really hindered my enjoyment. So it is what it is. And then also there were a lot of different perspectives, and it was written in the way that it was short paragraphs and then just spaces in between, and it would jump scenes and jump perspectives. And I just didn't really like that style of writing, and I didn't connect with any of the characters, and I just wasn't that impressed. So it was surprising. I wanted to like this book, but it just was not for me. So I don't think I'll be reading any more of this author's books. So I do have a thriller video talking about that. And then the other thriller in that video is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. He is so hit and miss with me, and I may kind of give up on his books, even though I like the covers, I like the kind of style of his books, but sometimes the execution just really is not good to me. But basically for this one, it had language kind of right away that I wasn't into, and then I just really didn't like the main character. She felt really dumb to me, and I don't know, I think I don't like reading about desperate characters that make dumb decisions because they're desperate, because it just isn't as relatable to me. The main character in Lock Every Door and Home Before Dark, those two women didn't feel desperate to me, and I really liked their stories. But this one, I was like, ugh, she's obviously gonna be tricked by all these people and whatever. So I definitely was checked out. I didn't really care about the mystery. But then as the mystery started to unfold and you started getting all the reveals, I just thought that it was just so ridiculous. All of the reveals felt out of left field, and I just didn't like how crazy it went. I don't know, sometimes I can like it, but this one just didn't work for me either. So that was a huge letdown. I am too bad about that, but yeah. Okay, I've got a couple adult romances that I also either DNF'd or was disappointed in. So number one is The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana Zapata. I tried to read this in January. I was I want to give these books a try. There's some romance books that are called slow burn, and sometimes I wonder if that means that there's not as much detail about stuff. But this book, first of all, her writing style is very detailed, and describing a feeling that the character has for a whole page, I just was whoa, this is very drawn out, just as drawn out as you could picture writing B. That's what this was. So it was like a slog to get through. On top of that, this was the kind of guy that, like, I would never recommend a woman to get attached to. Like, he was not nice to her. He made fun of her. He ignored her. He treated her poorly, and she just took it. She was his assistant. So the guy is like a famous football player, and she is his assistant. But she finally has her last straw and she quits. But then he is Canadian, and he's trying to keep his, I guess, work visa. I think he has a work visa, but he's losing his work visa to work in the States and play football. And so he wants to get married so that he can, like, get a green card to stay in the States. And he tries to get her to marry him. And she agrees eventually. Like, he wears down her walls. But I just couldn't. Like, his character, I hated his character. And I was like, I'm not reading this. It's bad. Like, the language was mild, and it did kind of have, I guess you could say, like, kind of a sexual tone to it, but nothing happened that I read. Like, I don't know. But I just, like, this character, like, not for me. Not for me. So don't recommend that. And then Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. I also DNF'd this book. I just kind of realized, like, that I didn't want to read it. So this is also in a video, I think, in a romance video. And there was a little bit of language. I didn't get to any, like, spice or anything. But I'm just not a fan of, like, the enemies to lovers, grumpy guy being mean to the girl a little bit, but she, like, gets over it, whatever. I just can't get on board with that kind of romance. Least favorite kind. Okay, so yeah, that's kind of what this was, and so I quit. And then a novel love story by Ashley Poston. This was just really boring. It was really boring. I think I DNF'd it too, but it's also in a video. And yeah, I DNF'd it because the writing style was just not engaging at all. Like, I just didn't care what was going on. I found the characters really dull and bland, and I just, like, didn't care to keep reading. So I DNF'd that one too. I also DNF'd The Good Part by Sophie Cousens. This was such a letdown. Like, this one, again, lots of language, and it's where, like, the woman wishes that she could skip ahead to the good part of her life. She's, like, in her 20s or something, and then she wakes up and she's in her 40s, and she has kids and a husband, and she has no idea what's going on. And I was just so turned off by the way that she acted around the kids. Like, no matter what, I don't know, she just, like, was swearing like crazy in front of her kids, and it just, the whole thing, I was like, no, I don't want to read this. Was not into it. So I DNF'd that one too. Okay, then next is Brynn and Sebastian Hate Each Other by Bethany Turner. This author is not for me, you guys, and I need to know that. Like, this is the second book that I've read by her, and her characters are so unlikable that I just cannot do it. Like, I think she's known for writing more, like, kind of gritty Christian characters, but it's, like, too much, because, like, there's, like, a little bit of redemption for them, but I just think it's like the worst example of a Christian that you could read, and plus with romance in it, like, it just feels so out of place, and I really don't like it. So yeah, and again, enemies to lovers in contemporary romance, like, I just don't like that trope. I don't want to read that trope in contemporary romance. It doesn't work for me. In fantasy, that's a different story, but in contemporary, like, I want it to be slightly realistic, and maybe it is, but, like, for me, I would never be into someone who would treat me that way or say those things to me, like, never. And I also would never treat someone like that too. So just overall, I'm like, no, no. Yeah, so wouldn't recommend this one. It was clean, there was no language, but I just did not like their relationship. I didn't like the characters, so wouldn't recommend. Okay, then super sad to share this. This is just a letdown because I didn't love it, but it's Eloise and the Grump Next Door by Emma St. Clair and Jenny Proctor. So they do have this kind of, like, summer trilogy, companion trilogy, I think, and I read this book in Hawaii. Okay, and doesn't it look like Hawaii too? And I think they're actually in Hawaii in this book, or maybe not. No, they're not. I made that up. They're not in Hawaii, but they're on, like, I don't even know, who cares? Okay, but I, once again, did not like this relationship, because why is the guy grumpy? Why is she, like, falling for everything that he does? how is this romantic? Like, it just wasn't. And I just like was not into it. I wasn't into it. This was a huge letdown, and it made me not want to keep reading these books. Like, I liked the writing. I mean, interesting that these two authors came together to do this. Like, I think they did a good job, but the actual like story and characters just didn't like it. So wouldn't really recommend that. Okay, also, you guys may know about this one already, but Her Cowboy Billionaire Best Friend by Liz Isaacson. I actually would say I hated this book because of the relationship. Like, he is a walking red flag. He's a narcissist. He is a crybaby. He is just the most like insecure man that you could read about. And like, why was she into him? I just did not understand. And like, his behavior towards her, it just felt like he could do whatever he wanted and she would just love him no matter what. And he got to like just kind of, yeah, do whatever he wanted. And I really didn't like that. And like, yeah, I just really didn't like their relationship. I thought it was bad, and I really didn't like this book. So that's all I can say. I liked the setting, like the whole, you know, I think this is Christmas. Yeah, it's set like around Christmas time, and it's snowy. Setting is great, but like, I was not rooting for these characters at all, and I was like more so annoyed at their relationship. And a couple fantasy books. So One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. I did DNF this book. It was just too dark for me, and I wasn't really into the like world building. It was kind of confusing and just wasn't my kind of thing. So I did DNF it. Just, yeah, I would say that there's better out there. This is adult fantasy, so I was assuming that there was like content coming that I wouldn't like. But even then, like, it just had this kind of like dark, evil-ish feel to it that I was like, I'm checked out. So I did give it a chance, and it is in a fantasy video, so I'll link it down below, but I wouldn't recommend it, and I didn't finish it. And The Huntress of Thronbeck Forest by Melanie Dickerson. I DNF'd this book too, and this is in a vlog as well. But this book, it was just too simple, too kind of childish, too young for me, on top of me not liking the setting and like not being that into what the story was about. So I think that like younger readers might like it because it is kind of a Robin Hood retelling, but the girl is the Robin Hood character. And I don't know, like, it felt a little predictable, and I just, the writing style, it was very surface level, and I didn't feel connected to the characters, and I didn't even want to push through and finish it because I was just like, I don't care about this anymore. And then These Twisted Bonds by Lexi Ryan. This is the sequel to These Hollow Vows, and I did DNF this second book because it's in my fantasy video and my November wrap up, but there was just like spice coming, or I don't know, just the way they would like make out and like want each other felt not like I want to be reading that. On top of that, I didn't really care about the storyline. Like, it's fairy politics and this girl is figuring it out. She's a human, but whatever. There's a love triangle, and I don't know, like, yeah, I wasn't that into it. So I DNF'd the second book, but mostly like I was gonna listen to it to like see how it all ends, but once the kind of like spice seemed to be coming, I was like, okay, DNF. So I DNF'd it. Okay, so I kind of flew through those I think, but I will list them down below with all the vlogs that they're in. But these are just my opinions. If you like some of these books, that's awesome. There is a place for each of these books for people. You never know what you're gonna end up liking, but these were not for me, and I'm excited to talk about all of the books that I did like this year, but I just wanted to get these ones out of the way. So yeah, thank you for watching this. I hope it was helpful in some way, and again, thank you for watching my Bookmas videos, because I know there's so many videos out there right now, but thank you for watching mine. So yeah, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.